then received second order to stop it.
One of the American servicemen whose job was to fire the Mace missiles has since revealed that China was a nuclear target during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962.
We were told that we had to launch all the missiles, but we only had one missile headed towards Russia, and we did not see why we should have to involve the other countries. The captain suggested that everybody crack the doors open, so it would take less time to launch a missile if the doors were cracked open.
One of the launch crews was on the point of firing their missiles when a duty officer suspected the order was false.
The launch officer on the B side was told to send 2 men over there with .45s and to shoot anybody that tried to launch until the situation was resolved. And it would only take like 15, 20 seconds to run the distance between the two command centers. So those 2 men kept that whole crew at bay while we made a decision as to what to do. And it wasn't very long, maybe 2 or 3 seconds later, where a very nervous major came over the intercom issuing the stand down order. And then we just kind of looked at each other like we could have exterminated the whole planet.
The major who had given the launch order was quietly court-martialed and dismissed from the Air Force.
That morning is just as familiar to me and as clear as yesterday morning is. And this is 53 years later. And how clear blue the sky was. And there was just some very light clouds, and there was a perfect breeze blowing and a perfect temperature. I did not know what the temperature was, but it just felt perfect. And we were all just kind of taking it in and taking in the smell of the air and the sea and the land mixture together, and everything smelled so beautiful.
This is very interesting because it shows the cities in China where these Mace missiles were aimed at.
Yes.
Which ones do we have here?
This is Okinawa Island. So within 2,000 kilometers, you find Peking or Beijing, Xi'an, UK, and Hong Kong, Shanghai, Taiwan, Taipei, and Pyongyang, North Korea, within the range of missile.
This is the work of the Okinawan sculptor Kinjo Minoru. It's a tribute to the suffering and resistance of the people of this island. More than 1,000 miles away, on the Korean island of Jeju, these symbols of struggle are hauntingly similar. The work of Korean sculptor Ko Gil-chun represents another fight of island people for freedom. A semi-tropical sanctuary of unusual beauty, Jeju Island is a World Heritage Site. The government of South Korea declared it an island of world peace. But on this island of peace has been built one of the most provocative military bases in the world, less than 400 miles from Shanghai, by the emergence of a vast image of itself. This is one of the many very exclusive gated communities in Shanghai, where an apartment is one of the prizes of the new communism. I had arranged to see Professor Zhang Weiwei, a close aide to the late Deng Xiaoping, the man who changed China.
Deng is really extremely long-term visionary, a leader with exceedingly long-term and strategic vision for his country, for his people. And China is still following that path. Yeah. Actually, this is really a tradition from China's long history. You look at even like Mao, he said we should, surpass UK by which year we should surpass United States by which year. So this tradition continues to this day. Even Xi Jinping today is also doing the same. Actually, what many Chinese have problem with Western media is the stereotypes about China. If you are content with stereotypes, you miss so many things. If BBC broadcasts something, they are happy to always mention this communist dictatorship, this autocracy. No, actually, with this kind of label, you cannot understand this China as it is. But if you watch BBC or CNN or read Economist and try to understand China, it will be a failure. It's impossible.
Multiple parties fight for political power and everyone voting on them as the only path to salvation to the long-suffering developing world.
This is Eric Lee, a Shanghai entrepreneur, educated in America, and typical of a new, confident, outspoken political class.
Now in China, there are a lot of problems, but at the moment, the Chinese, the party state, has proven an extraordinary ability to change. I mean, I make the joke how in America you can change political parties, but you can't change the policies. In China, you cannot change the party, but you can change policies. So in the 65 or 66 years, China is being run by one single party, yet the political changes that have taken place in China in this past 66 years have been wider and broader and greater than probably any other major country in modern memory.
So in that time, China ceased to be communist. Is that what you're saying?
Well, China is a market economy, and it's a vibrant market economy, but it is not a capitalist country. Here's why. There's no way a group of billionaires could control the Politburo as billionaires control American policymaking. So in China, you have a vibrant market economy, but capital does not rise above political authority. Capital does not have enshrined rights. In America, capital, the interest of capital and capital itself has risen above the American nation. The political authority cannot check the power of capital. And that's why America is a capitalist country, but China is not.
It's a thing that Jefferson laid great stress on. It wasn't enough, he said, to enshrine some rights in a constitution or a Bill of Rights. The people had to be educated, and they had to practice their skepticism and their education. Otherwise, we don't run the government. The government runs us.
This is the ironic title of a best-selling book by Zhang Leisure, a journalist and critic who lives in Beijing.
Many Americans imagine that the Chinese people live a miserable, repressed life with no freedom whatsoever. That's not quite true. If you speak to many ordinary Chinese people, they will tell you they feel their life are quite free. Some 500 million people being lifted out of poverty, and some would say probably 600 million people. That's a great achievement. For many Americans, the yellow peril has never left them. I think there's a fear about China. Of course, there's a fear of China's rapid rise, but it also has a lot to do with China's the label as a communist state.
China's objectives are modest compared with their weight. They're not trying to run the world. They're not even trying to run Asia Pacific. I think they want to keep America from dominating the Asia Pacific. So they have what they believe is their rightful place in Asia Pacific because of long civilization, long history, and their size. So their objectives are really modest compared with their capacity.